Shame on those people who want to make something out of this that isn't there. They have this boogeyman philosophy, and if it's black or brown, it's something that they've got a target on.
Yeah.
I just think that is just totally uncalled for at a time like this.
That was Maryland Congressman Kweisi Mfume last night on this very show, talking about the rampant conspiracies being hawked by the right about Tuesday's tragic bridge collapse in Baltimore. It has been a grab bag of right-wing grievances, barely coded racism, and flat-out lies. Noted Jewish space lasers and QAnon conspiracist Marjorie Taylor Greene suggested the disaster was the result of an intentional attack, perhaps by the space lasers. But the most idiotic and racist theories had to do with their newest boogeyman, diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. A Republican congressional candidate in Florida tweeted that DEI did this. And a right-wing blue check account that's been boosted by Elon Musk in the past just blew straight past the dog whistling, tweeting to its 276,000 followers, quote, Baltimore's DEI mayor commenting on the collapsed Francis Scott Key Bridge. It's going to get so much worse. Prepare accordingly. The post included a clip of Baltimore's black mayor, Brandon Scott. I cannot believe I have to say this. Brandon Scott was elected with 70% of the vote in 2020 in a city that is 61% black. So by right-wing logic, a diversity hire would have been a white man, which, of course, is what they want. Only the white Christian men may have the things. And at this point, it's evident what they mean by DEI, right? Okay, it means black people. It's the reason the right complained about critical race theory. It's not fashionable to be openly racist anymore in America, unlike what they call the good old days. So referring to a black mayor as a DEI mayor gets the point across, right? So, fellas, why not just say what you mean? You can't stand black people. We get it. You've been heard. What is also clear is all the conspiracy theories are a distraction from the real effects of Tuesday's bridge collapse. Tonight, officials said the remains of two of the victims were recovered. Construction workers who had been working on the bridge. 4 others are presumed dead. There's also the economic fallout from the port of Baltimore being closed indefinitely. This port is one of the busiest in the country, 11th largest overall. It employs more than 15,000 people and more than 139,000 indirect jobs. And it's the #1 port in the country for the import and export of automobiles and farm and construction machinery, a top importer of sugar, and second in the nation for export of coal, and not just coal for black people, Republicans, coal for everybody. Joining me now is Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott. I will allow you, Mayor Scott, if you choose to do so, to respond to the tomfoolery and attacks on you for having the nerve to be black and also a mayor.
Well, I think, listen, I know, and we all know, and you know very well, that black men and young black men in particular have been the boogeyman for those who are racist and think that only straight, wealthy white men should have a say in anything. We've been the boogeyman from them since the first day they brought us to this country. And what they mean by DEI, in my opinion, is duly elected incumbent. We know what they want to say, but they don't have the courage to say the N-word. And the fact that I don't believe in their untruthful and wrong ideology, and I am very proud of my heritage and who I am and where I come from, scares them, because me being at my position means that their way of thinking, their way of life of being comfortable and suffering, and while everyone else suffers, is going to be at risk. And they should be afraid, because that's my purpose in life.
And by the way, you know, the coded racism, before we even knew the nationalities of the men, Maria Bartiromo was out there talking about open borders and trying to somehow signal that they wanted to go after the brown people, too, because, of course, that is their other target. We know that the men who were doing this hard construction work overnight, trying to fix the potholes on this bridge, working very hard, were Latino. And so that's now on the table, too. We know that this ship, which came from Singapore, was piloted by a very heroic crew from India whose Mayday call saved lives. Not maybe saved lives, but did. So this is a full-throated attack. But this is also what America is. It is people of multiple races who do the hard work to make America work and literally make it work. Talk about the importance of this port and how quickly you believe it will be back up and working.
Well, first I have to talk about those lives that we lost. Those folks came to this country to fulfill the American dream, the dream that they say should exist for everyone, but they really mean just for them. They were working, filling potholes in the middle of the night so all of us used that bridge could transit, had better transit. This port is one of the most important, not just in the U.S., but in the world. And these folks that depend on these jobs, we are going to be working very quickly alongside and following the lead of our federal government, our state government, supporting in every way we can to get this port open back up. But we have to do that safely, in the right way, to make sure that nothing else happens in the getting it back up and working. We're going to do that each and every day. Everybody is working here together. We're ignoring all the conspiracy theorists, everyone who's playing bridge engineer at home, who's never even taken a class on engineering, and understanding that what this is about is showing the world once and again that Baltimore can't be broken, that our spirit is strong, and we will rebuild together and honor those who we lost.
And I want to note that two of those who have been now declared dead were Mexican nationals. Is there cooperation happening across that divide as well? Because obviously this is now an international situation, not just the United States, but Singapore and also Mexico.
Yeah, our federal partners are leading in that and making sure that contacts with those countries and the families that are there in those countries are happening. We are all in contact with the families. Right before I got on with you, I spoke with a family member of one of the deceased, again, making sure that they know that we're going to be supporting them, not just now, but long after the cameras are gone and even after the ignorant tweets stop.
I just want to say, just personally, and I think from this show, and I'm sure I speak for you as well, we are grateful in this country to the Latino workers who do the hard work. They are on these construction sites all over this country doing the work that you cannot compel a lot of Americans to do, the back-breaking work that we don't even have enough gratitude to give to them. So our deepest condolences to the families of those 6 who are gone and are lost, and they were lost doing the work for us to make our country better and to make our economy stronger. God bless them. And to anybody who has anything negative to say about this mayor or those people, we know who you are. We see you. We see what you mean when you say DEI. We get it. Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott, thank you so much. Much appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Republicans have grand visions of what 21st century America should look like. And when you hear about it, you'll realize it sounds a lot like 19th century America, without all the pesky income taxes, regulations, labor rights, civil rights, especially women's rights. The men over at the Heritage Foundation, a wealthy right-wing think tank swarming with former Trump administration officials, have published a very detailed plan for the next Republican president. In the section on abortion, you get a good sense of what's coming for us. Aside from ostracizing single women, renaming HHS the Department of Life, and implementing a federal ban on abortion, they also want to ban mifepristone, ban stem cell research, implement a White House task force on pro-life issues, add more work requirements to Medicaid, cancel Head Start for kids, and expand access to fertility awareness family planning methods, because they do not like that you can get contraception under his eye. Joining me now is former Alabama Senator Doug Jones, distinguished senior fellow at the Center for American Progress, and Juanita Tolliver, Democratic strategist, MSNBC political analyst, and co-host of the What a Day podcast. I will start with you, Doug Jones. Comment on this race where a Democratic candidate beats the Republican by 25 points, and it's on abortion.
Yeah, no, that was a big win. It was a big win for Alabama. It was a big win for Democrats. It's a big win for women across the board. Marilyn Lands, who won that race, went straight at the women's rights issue, the women's reproductive rights issue. She went straight at that, and that was a big piece of this. It was also, though, Joy, part of a bigger picture, I think, with the way the Alabama legislature is treating this whole issue of the culture wars. There's a fight against, they're looking at banning books. They're looking at fighting women. They're looking at, you name it, absentee ballot issues that are there, charter schools taking away money from public schools. This was a big issue. The women's reproductive rights was huge, and Marilyn was unabashed in the way she approached this. And I was really proud of the campaign she ran and won last night in a big, big way, and it sends a wonderful message across the country.
And I wonder if it sends a wonderful message, Juanita Tolliver, to the Democratic Party, which notoriously has kind of given up on the South. But here you have in the most southern of states, Alabama, you have this woman blow out her opposition on abortion. And let me just put up a couple of things. Here's the states where abortion is banned or limited. Like, it's almost completely banned in the state of Alabama, and yet she persisted. So we'll put that up. Then you can see it kind of looks like the old Confederacy. And then the states where reproductive rights actually could be on the ballot. Now, one of those states is Florida, Florida, Florida. Do the Democrats plan, in your view, do you think that they will fight on this issue specifically, as well as on the book bans, the attacks on LGBTQ rights, the whole culture war issue? Is the South back as an issue?
Absolutely. And I say that because President Biden gave us a preview of that earlier this year when he said 2024 is about the fight for freedoms. That encompasses all of the things involved in this culture war that Doug Jones and you have mentioned, Joy. I think when it comes to abortion, I want people to remember this moment, because there will be a moment in this election cycle when folks say, wait, Democrats can't just focus on abortion. They're focusing too much on abortion. People said that in 2023. They said that in 2022. And every cycle, it has been a winning, mobilizing issue for Democrats. So look at Alabama when you start to feel those jitters, folks, and settle yourself. This is an issue that voters mobilize around, especially when the attacks continue across the country.
Right. And, you know, Doug Jones, it's because they're being it's very Handmaid's Tale. They have even these women who are sort of the Serena Joys out there arguing sort of being sort of automatons for ending the rights of their fellow sisters. But they're so clear about it. They're like, we're going to do a national ban. Lindsey Graham is saying that. They're not even hiding it anymore. They're essentially saying we're going to incarcerate women in the stirrups. That's what we're doing. Do your Republican colleagues, do they understand between that and then saying no DEI to the point where you've got even Alabama coaches saying, don't send your kids to my state. Don't come and play football in Alabama. Just don't come here because we don't like black folks here. Like, do they see what they're doing?
You know, if they could see what they're doing, I don't think they would do it. They don't care at this point. Joy, I think that they are so concerned about getting primary opposition from the far right. Because you got to remember, the South, like so many other places in the country, but particularly the South, is very, very gerrymandered in our state house and our state legislature. This district was as close to a swing district in the state house as you can possibly get. So we're very gerrymandered, and they are playing to that very far right base. But I think right now they're overplaying that hand, because it is, while it's gerrymandered, there are a lot of people taking a second look here to say maybe these people have just absolutely gone too far in so many ways. That, I think, was the message that came out of Maryland's win last night. People have gone too far, and we're going to start mobilizing. We're going to start looking at all of these races, and we're going to start giving folks a run for their money and making this state competitive. That's the key. Is making this state competitive.
And, you know, the thing is the sort of trick that it's been very difficult to figure out how to untie this knot, Juanita, which is that, you know, white women on a majority do vote Republican. Even in states where they're voting away their reproductive rights. I think about Georgia, where they voted for Brian Kemp and his 6-week abortion ban. And so it's like, what will unlock that fealty that white women have to it? I read this thing in Slate that talked about the origins, the white nationalist origins of the anti-abortion movement. It says the following in Slate. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the movement against abortion mainly included white supremacists who, pointing to declining white birth rates, believed that legalized abortion would mean race suicide for white Protestants. You still look at it, and you don't think they want you and me to have more babies. I don't think they want Latinos to have more babies. How do you get the message to white women that they are the target? And they should vote accordingly.
That message is definitely going to come from Republicans, because remember, this attack on abortion is not isolated to abortion. It's reproductive rights generally. And we saw white women have a wake-up call when IVF was on the table. And that is something that I think, when we understand how this is going to impact IVF, even the list that you had put up from the Heritage Fund report for 2025, it included same-sex relationships as well. This is not isolated, and it won't focus exclusively on abortion or reproductive rights. It is expansive. And the other thing that came out of that Heritage report that is a sign of them going too far, as Doug Jones mentioned, is they literally want to delete the language from the books. I'm talking about deleting abortion from federal regulations, deleting the phrase reproductive rights, deleting DEI, all of it. And I think when people fully frame it as this is not isolated to abortion, they're coming for IVF, they're coming for contraception, they're coming for anything privacy related with a roadmap given by Supreme Court Justices Alito and Thomas, then that's what's going to resonate.
Watch The Handmaid's Tale as much of it as you can stand. That's what they want to do. And by the way, you know how you know it's not about babies? They're trying to kill Head Start, which is for the babies. Former Senator Doug Jones, Juanita Tolliver, thank you.
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.